All right.
Uh, with summer coming along and the lack of lectures or anything, can we expect any sort of big projects over the summer, or are you still going to be busy?
Well, this is the slight trouble. I will definitely be keeping writing short stories over the summer. Um, there's a friend of mine who lives not too far from here who came up to me with a suggestion for a sequel to one of my stories, which is Ponies Discover Red Wine. That was my attempt at a comedy story. And it sort of leaves with a bit of a cliffhanger with Twilight, Applejack, and Rarity getting quite drunk in Carousel Boutique with Sweetie Belle upstairs with a pillow over her head. I left the story there to leave it ambiguous, but to be honest, there is room for a sequel, and I'm going to collaborate with him on that. So that's definitely in the pipeline. And I have a few other ideas for some other nice short stories. I was going to have a great big massive project over the summer. I wanted to take Icarus back. In fact, I did. I pulled Icarus off FimFiction, and I pulled it off Equestria Daily, where it had got 6 stars, because the trouble was that people read. It was split into 4 chapters. People read the first 3 chapters, and they were really enjoying it, and I was really pleased with the comments that they were making. And then I posted the 4th chapter, and everybody suddenly said, "Wait, what? Wait, it's over now." That was a real letdown. It was really disappointing. Like, they were expecting something huge, like It's a Dangerous Business, but I don't have the energy to produce that. Like, having tried to write my own longer thing, I have so much respect for
Let's call that.
the writers that actually managed to write something that's so long. I pulled it back, and I wanted to rewrite it. I wanted to make it bigger. I wanted to make it longer because I thought some of the comments they made were fair. But actually, as I started to think about it, my ideas sort of got bigger and bigger and huger, and until in the end, actually, I decided that whatever it was I was going to write was going to take a huge amount of effort, and I actually wanted to get a fair bit of help with it, and I decided to write an original story rather than a pony story. So Icarus is back as it was, and I'm going to leave it alone as it was because quite a lot of people liked it like that, and I quite like it like that too. I'm going to go away and write my own original story, which is actually going to be all about otters. It's going to be amazing. Don't laugh. And I'm going to keep on writing my short stories as well. So that's sort of my plan for the summer. I've got a big writing project ahead, but sort of I'm going to keep breaths of fresh air from that by writing the short ones as well.
So cool. You said that you haven't looked back at Scootaloo and Cloudsdale for a while, and looking back at it, you sort of get a fresh wind of it. I don't know, can't think of a better word for it, well, phrase, but do you see anything that like you remember from writing there that you might change now, or?
It's an interesting one. I don't actually read back over my stories very often. Sometimes I do, and it's quite good fun to read it, because sometimes I can read it back and say, "Oh, I really like that. I'm really pleased that I wrote that, because I actually quite like that." Or sometimes I can read it back and say, "What is this absolute rubbish?" and just want to get rid of it, get it off FimFiction. I think reading back through that, there were a few words and phrases that I would perhaps want to change, but to be honest, it's more like using "but" instead of "though," and so I wouldn't really bother. Sometime I imagine if I'm really, really bored, I might go through all of my stories on FimFiction and just give them a short little edit. Not enough to actually sort of update them so that people go back and reread them, but just perhaps a few word choices to make it
More
sit
in
a little
character.
bit. Yeah, more in character, a little bit smoother. Like that comment you were making about how Rainbow says,
You're the prettiest
the prettiest flower is the last to bloom. It's a very pretty sentiment, and it's I quite liked it when I wrote it. But I think it's quite a fair comment that it's not really in character for Rainbow Dash to say that, and I'd sit down and think for a while and think of something else for her to say that's less pretty and philosophical.
We never know. Rainbow Dash could be one that dresses in style.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
We're in
It
trouble.
does fit the pony universe, though. So if any pony else said it, I mean, you're probably caught up in the moment.
Imagine if Celestia said it. That would work.
Yeah.
If any pony said it, it would have worked. Except Rainbow.
I'm going to edit the story now so that Celestia literally just flies.
Appears.
She just flies by the Cloud Stadium. It just says, "Oh, Scootaloo, by the way, the prettiest flower is the last to bloom. So yeah, cool. See you later." Let's just carry on. She's just casual. Carrying on
Yeah.
a day, troll SEO.
Ah.
That's one of my favourite things to do, because the hardest part of writing a story is stitching the ideas together. The best stage is the stage just at the beginning, when you're sat and you're thinking, and you try and think of all the crazy ideas you want to use. Like, I'll have Celestia appear from nowhere, and then Twilight has a machine gun, and you think, okay, maybe Twilight doesn't have a machine gun, and you try to think of all the ideas, and that's easy and that's wonderful. And to be honest, I can sit daydreaming and looking out of a window for hours on end, just trying to think about what sort of things I could picture. The hard work, the real hard work, comes in when you try to stitch those together into a coherent structure. And actually, I'm not very good at that, which is why I'm better, or at least I think I'm better at the one-shots, where there's not all that much stitching to do, because you only really have one idea going through the whole story. Certainly in Scootaloo and Cloudsdale, although some of my other one-shots are a little bit more complex than that. But then, once you've stitched the ideas together, if you've stitched them together well enough, and I'm a big fan of planning the story before writing it, because when you have a plan and when you've stitched the ideas together, then you just write, and it should be a linear progression start to finish, and you should be able to write it all complete without having to stop and think.
Yeah.
Alright.
Which is fun.
Just getting into the
there's
zone.
if there's anyone listening who sort of finds it interesting and wants to try it, I can honestly recommend it. It's so much fun. You get to build your own world. You are Lauren Faust. You can make them do whatever the hell you want. Practice makes perfect. Maybe it won't be brilliant at first, but I can guarantee you'll have fun writing it, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Always give something a shot before you say no.
Oh yeah.
Unless you make your alicorn human in Equestria, alicorn I'm OP, and then I ship with everyone fic.
OC Pony, do not steal.
But,
General name and anti-Mary Sue stuff, right?
yeah.
It's the anti-Mary Sue, anti-Mary Sue, guys. God.
What?
Have you ever found it that you get to, you couldn't get into sort of the character's mindset? So each characters have their own personality that they portray. Have you ever found it that your personality sort of conflicts with their personality too much, that you find it actually difficult to write like them?
I'm rubbish at writing Fluttershy, which isn't supposed to be some great big testosterone, me big man, me no Fluttershy thing. When I was writing Icarus, to be honest, it's supposed to be a main 6 story. Really, the only characters that have real dialogue are Twilight and Rainbow Dash, plus Applejack for advice. Pinky, Rarity, and Fluttershy only exist to make comments just because they wouldn't stand around saying nothing all day. But when I was doing it with my editor, Brony called W, who I have a lot of respect for, he really pulled me up on my writing of Fluttershy and saying that every single comment that I made for Fluttershy was out of character. So apparently I can't write Fluttershy to save my life, so I wouldn't really write any stories about Fluttershy. But I think it's just because, I don't know, it's not that I dislike her, but I just find the whole okay, if that's okay with you thing a little bit
the submissive.
It's I don't know, I don't really feel it, I don't really get into it, and I suppose if I was trying to write Fluttershy, I'd have to write like that, but it would just feel a little bit odd and weird to me, so I wouldn't really feel right. So the easiest thing is just not to write Fluttershy, to be honest.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I couldn't really do many other characters other than Twilight when I wrote, because I'm an intellectual. I find it hard to be completely random off the wall, and so I can relate to you, not being able to get into the mindset. Yeah,
and writing Pinkie Pie is hard as well. I try and think. I don't think I've written very much for her. I think you can tell which characters an author empathises most with by who they've written most about. If you look through my stories, it's mostly Twilight, Rainbow Dash, and Scootaloo, I think, and a bit of Rarity, which you might be able to tell from my accent. I can only apologise. But those are really sort of the characters I feel most comfortable writing for, and subconsciously I just choose not to write for the others because I don't feel that much of a connection with them.
I see what you mean.
Oh crap. Crap.
What?
No, so don't worry. It's just me derping on the computer.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Okay, I've got two similar questions, but they're actually quite different. First of all, Who is your favourite pony?
I was wondering when this was going to happen.
It had to.
There's a great big picture of her on the screen as we speak. It has to be Rainbow Dash.
Okay. And then,
No controversies. No controversies.
No.
Seriously, you say Rainbow Dash's best pony at a meet in Britain, and you've almost got a pub brawl. People are, they're getting their fists out. You're having a fight. I met a guy who tried to beat me to the ground, telling me that Applejack was best pony. I was like, no, it's got to be Rainbow Dash. It's got to be Rainbow Dash. And yourself? What is the general consensus in this podcast of who is best pony? Because I'll be honest, if you say anything other than Rainbow Dash, we will have to take it outside and discuss it.
Well,
I think the majority is either Applejack or Rainbow Dash.
yeah. Poe, who's your favourite first, before I die?
I'll come over there. I'll come over the ocean and find you. And who is your favourite pony?
So,
That's a long, awkward silence.
Poe, just say it.
Have I created this awkward silence?
No,
This is bad radio.
Celestia.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, you thought I would say Luna, but no.
Yeah, I don't get this. Can I say it? I don't get this whole
Oh.
Luna craze. I don't dislike her, but Luna and Trixie are two ponies who, honestly, I cannot understand how popular they are. DJ Pone3 I can sort of get because it's a fan-made character who we've made our own, like Derpy, and people can do whatever the hell they want with them. Trixie was, sort of just a side character like the Flim Flam brothers or something, and I know she was one of the first, which is why people run with her so much, but damn it, why do people obsess over her so much? I don't get it.
Well, over Luna, I can explain that one.
Explain away, I'd be interested to hear.
Well, for one thing, the biggest thing I think that caught most people's eyes, see, internet culture, which influences anime culture a lot, and anime culture tends to favor anti-heroes a lot. Anti-heroes, generally speaking, will usually be, will a lot of the time be bad guys who turn good guys. In her case, well, yeah, that's her case. She was a bad guy who turned a good guy, and she became very much a likable good guy, sort of. Well, she was cuter than Celestia, a lot of people thought, and, well, let's see, the moon is also much more romanticized than the sun. You'll never see anything like any romance stories, for example, like...
Lonely romantic poets staring at the sun all day long, they'll just go blind.
Exactly. The moon's also been associated a lot more with, okay, it's probably not about associations, but... Well, yes. The moon is associated with the night and the dark.
Yeah.
If you look around, people tend to be attracted to that a bit more than the sunny good characters. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? I completely hear what you're saying, and that's actually a very, very old concept. It goes back to Paradise Lost by John Milton. I cannot remember when that was written. It was like before 1500. It's this big whole book about God and Satan, effectively, and in the story,
cast out of heaven, right?
Yeah. In the story, effectively, Satan is just a much, much more interesting and better character than God is, simply for the fact that he's evil and cool, which isn't really what John Milton was trying to do, but that's how it came out. But
well,
yeah, so,
it concentrates on him, so naturally it would be more like that, right?
Yeah, and actually I see what you mean there with Luna and her whole Lady of the Night is the wrong phrase because that has other connotations, but with her whole sort of dark queen type thing, but then become good. So I don't sympathise myself, but yeah, actually that helps me understand it a bit more.